Before we respond to that question, this is what we say when we say, and it's not in all circumstances. We are saying treat sick leave as an insurance. It's not I must. We get in calls. How many sick days do I have now?
Sure. Now you are planning.
When is my cycle ending now? No, don't plan.
Now you're planning
It's like
to be
insurance because I mean things happen. So now in that particular case, unfortunately, if you exhaust your sick leave in the 3-year cycle, and you've exhausted all your annual leave days, the employer is not entitled to pay you because I mean the annual leave and the sick leave that was given has been exhausted. So now you unfortunately gonna have to go on to unpaid. Companies have different policies, right? Just make sure you know what the policies are, right? We have a policy where dress code is very important because we always say first impressions last because we're always in interviews and we to see how people are dressed. So we also need to play that part. We have a policy whereby we are formal Monday to Thursday. However, if you've got interviews on Friday, you're formal. As much as in the office we can wear jeans, but when you go for certain meetings, when you go for presentations, when you are in interviews, then yes. But does it affect my job or does it impact my job? Not necessarily. But that's just the standard that we've put in.
Forwards that read the same backwards and forward.
No. But 4 words.
So you give us one.
Does it have to be in
Second one.
English?
Yes.
Yeah. That means exactly would do it. Wait!
Forwards.
Wait, but I don't like this. It's putting us under pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, your time.
Wait. Mom.
Yes, it's
Dad.
Mom, Dad.
Wait, you can't give me, I'm answering.
Tell me.
Your time was out.
That was, I mean, can't I just it's Mom, Dad, who else?
Wow,
Uh,
noon,
yeah.
and
But
leather.
why did it even take us so long?
I
Mom,
don't
Dad.
know.
And then give me the barrier, my time is up.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello guys, welcome to Couch Talk with LHS. As always, I'm your host, Mpele, aka Boss Lady, and today I am chilling with Zanele Buthelezi, aka ZenZee. We are doing things a bit different today, so we don't have any visitors. We just decided we're gonna keep it in-house, and we had a couple of questions from different people. So these are the questions that we thought, you know what, let's just answer them on the podcast or on this particular episode, just so that at least if there's people that were wondering, then at least they know what sort of questions are being asked or frequently asked, and then what the answers are. And if there's more questions, then you guys can just put on the comment section. So are you ready to answer the questions? We might not even have the same answers. We might not have the same answers, but let's see with the questions. So we just decided one person is going to give us the questions, all the questions that we have received, and then we can answer them accordingly. Question number 1. Are those difficult questions?
No, they're not.
Oh, okay. So it's things that we know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Question number 1.
What is the best part of working at a specific company?
Best part of working at a specific company. So that question is related
To the culture.
to the culture of the company, definitely. So I think, in my own opinion, culture is very important, but it's different to what it is that you want, because the best companies to work for, or the companies that have a good culture, is, for example, how you give feedback, right, to your employees. Because it's one thing me coming to work and not having feedback in terms of whether I'm doing good or not doing good. So that might be in a process of performance management, with the performance reviews or your one-on-ones. I mean, you don't have to have regular meetings, but you can have one-on-ones, because we do have like team meetings, we've got departmental meetings, but that's not giving feedback on my performance, because I need to understand, as much as I'm coming to work each and every single day, am I doing good? Or are there things that I need to improve on, or what's going on?
Yeah, I have to agree, right? It differs based on the culture that the organization has. Some cultures is not, some people, they're not only focused on maybe, for example, feedback, but they want to be entertained. Let's have fun. Let's move away from the work environment and distress. And some cultures would say, for example, on a Friday after 4 o'clock, there's maybe booze on the fridge. You can just go and take the booze. Or some cultures would say we eat lunch together, same as ours. We eat lunch together, we share, we buy groceries, we do things together. Then you have cultures that would say, for example, there's flexibility in terms of your working hours. Those are the things that some people look for. So it would differ based on what you are looking for. In an organization, and what would be interesting for you and what would demotivate you to stay within that particular organization. But definitely culture plays a significant role in your employees' wellness, as well as the growth that they're looking for within that particular organization. But one thing that people normally confuse, especially employees, they confuse culture being created by an employer, whereas it's not the case, right? So
I think it's a collaborative effort.
Yes.
It's a collaborative effort, because I mean, in most cases, companies are filled by employees. So management can come across or come up with a specific culture, but it's based on everybody to make sure that we enhance that culture. We work together as a team, because that's what it is at the end of the day.
Yes. Then you find things such as gossip. The employer can't create that. It's the employees that create that kind of a culture, gossip culture. Then there's a word that they like. Oh, this is such a toxic environment.
Oh, we hear it.
What is toxic about this environment? Yeah, there was gossip, there was office politics. Office politics are created by people.
Of course.
And those people are the employees that are employed there. So it's up to us also as employees to fix the culture if there's something wrong, or to do something about something that we are not happy about it. So it depends on exactly what kind of a culture you're looking for.
I think to add on to that question, maybe just to answer, it also depends on your values as a person, because I have specific values and my values might be different to your belief system or your values. So if I see the values of the company resonating to my values, then yes, that is a good company to work for. Very important that employers also need to remember that in a working environment, if I were to call a company a good company to work for, I need to make sure that it's not only a transaction. I understand that I provide a service and I get paid for it. But, happy employees are employees that are well taken care of, employees that are available, emotionally available. So things like wellness, they are there, they are present, I know what to do. Things like policies, for example. I know if I encounter a certain problem, these are the channels that I need to, that I need to follow in order for my problems to get sorted. So it encompasses a lot of things. It's different from one person to another. It depends on your belief system, it depends on your values, and if the values of that particular company, are the same with your values. So I hope we've answered that question. Question number 2.
I'm working for a toxic relation. I'm working for a toxic environment. I really do not want to leave the place. What must I do?
It just goes back to what you just said. I mean, there is toxic working environment is a buzzword nowadays. Everywhere you go or you open social media, we're talking about toxicity. We're talking about toxic working environment. But let's just break it down before we give an answer. What is a toxic working environment? What is toxic? Can I just ask, because I'm playing borderline on the employer side. Does me asking you to submit certain things on deadline and pushing for you to meet your deadlines mean that I'm toxic as an employer?
No. Why am I here?
why are you here? Because in most cases, employees would say my manager is toxic because you are not meeting your deadlines. You are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So again, it goes back to us understanding what is referred by toxic working environment, right? I saw a TikTok video. Yes, we do that. Time and again. I saw a TikTok video where they saying, and it's in most cases, I think, or maybe that's what we say and when we are busy with recruitment, that we are like a family. So I saw some video saying that the minute a company says we are like family, that's a red flag because they are toxic.
No, I beg to differ. Reason why I beg to differ, and can I come back to that because you just reminded me of something.
Yeah.
Recently, I had an interview with a candidate, and we asked the candidate what would demotivate them should they come to work for us and they find that thing happening, so that we can try and mitigate those kind of things, because that's where we get to know what makes people happy and what makes people not happy, right? So to keep the spirit up, we asked that particular question, and the candidate said that she would not like an employer or a manager that would be at her back. So it brings me back to the question that you just asked earlier on, right? Which we all found very amusing, because it's the responsibility of the manager to be at your back, to make sure that deadlines are submitted, to make sure that clients are satisfied with the work.
But being on my back does not necessarily mean micromanaging.
Yes.
Because I've got a problem with that.
Yes.
I do not micromanage.
Yes.
I believe we are professional enough to ensure that you can meet your deadlines.
Yes.
Unless you prove me otherwise, then that's where the micromanaging comes in. But it's also difficult for us because it stops my work just so that I can manage or micromanage you. Yeah.
And it adds towards the things that you need to do now.
Of course. Of course.
Okay, back to your question. So being a family, you know, we define families in a different way, right? So with us, I'm going to talk about us internally. With us, it's about that unity, it's about that teamwork, it's about doing things together. And with so many organizations, it's hard to find that. It's hard to find, you know what, I'm going through a lot right now, I need to go to Neo, I know when I go to Neo, even if she doesn't have the perfect advice at that particular point in time, but she's going to listen. And I'm going to vent, after venting we laugh about it and we move on. That creates that unity, that form of a family system, right? So for me, I would say that we are a family internally because of the things that we go through together and the obstacles that we overcome together as a family. Because when you talk about family, you're talking about your support structure. You're talking about, look, I know that these people are going to have my back. And even when I'm wrong, they're going to say, but now we, no, I'm emotional up here. You know, you want someone who, or people who are going to be truthful to you. So I don't know to what extent that person has experienced the value, the value of the family system that they are referring to. But it differs, because I would say, I feel like I work for a company that values the family system.
But again, I think it also just maybe for that person to elaborate further what the toxic environment looks like to them.
Yes.
Because they might have experienced maybe policies not being followed for other people, but, you know, followed for certain, which is toxic. Because, I mean, if we are both doing something wrong, the sanction should be the same. It shouldn't be a case of, oh no, it's Zanele, I'm not going to do this, this person is doing that. Yes, that's a different story. If we're talking about gossip, we need to hold each other accountable.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you know, because we can fix the situations. If you're talking about an environment where you are very motivated, you're coming in and employees are just not motivated, yes, it is toxic to a certain degree. There's so much as an employee that you can do, but if people are not, you know, moving towards the same direction, then it becomes very difficult. So I think just to answer that question, if you do not want to leave your organization and you love the organization, so there should be certain policies and certain processes that are put in place to, you know, to follow in terms of grievances, in terms of other things that are not being done. So maybe it's just also that extent of the toxicity that the person is referring to.
Yes. Maybe also just trying to speak to the relevant people that can change the
Definitely.
situation.
Definitely.
If you can see that, okay, you've exhausted your options, you spoke to the people, and still the problem is persists. I mean, at some point you have to choose yourself as a person and your mental health, and maybe look at other options that you have.
Yeah. Okay. Next question.
Does annual leave continue to accrue to an employee who is on maternity leave?
I've had an experience. I've had an experience with one of the managers previously, like a long time ago, where they had confirmed that the employee is on maternity leave and they cannot accrue for annual leave because they're not working. That is incorrect. So even if a person is on maternity leave, they still need to accrue for annual leave because they are still employed
Yes.
within a particular company.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Because we're not terminating their services, now you are disadvantaging the person just because they went and gave birth and now they're bonding with the child, which is completely wrong. It's not supposed to be done like that. So they need to accrue. I definitely agree with you on that one.
Just to take it a bit further, what the law doesn't provide for is paid maternity leave. So you are allowed to take 4 months of maternity leave, which is unpaid. Then obviously if the rules are bettering or better off for the employees, then obviously employers can put policies in place where a certain percentage is paid per month for the next 4 months, because the employees are still going to claim with UIF. Yes. Yeah. So yes, the employees are allowed, or they should accrue on a monthly basis. Next question.
I have resigned and have 20 days leave due to me. Can I take this leave during my notice period? I have told my employer I want to take my leave in my period of notice, but he refuses.
Sure. Whoa. Okay. So this one, I would say you are binded by the contract. If the contract does say that you're not supposed to take your annual leave days during the notice period, and the policies of the organization stipulate the same, then I would say that you would need to do that and not take leave, because that's the process where you need to be handing over to the other person. So if you leave without serving that particular notice, then you're leaving abruptly and you may disturb the system as well as how things need to be done, and clients are going to be inconvenienced. But you should also note that because annual leave is paid leave, it will be paid to you.
Yeah, but the notice period part, because it's catered for in the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, so the employee is not allowed to take leave in their notice month, depending on what notice means for different companies, right? So employees are not allowed to take leave on their notice month, and vice versa. The employer should not force the employee to take leave in their notice month just to avoid paying the annual days or the annual leave days that the employee has. So it goes vice versa. I mean, your last month is the handover period. So yes, it is in the Basic Conditions of Employment that, in that particular month. But again, it goes back in terms of the employer. If the employee feels that, you know what, we actually don't need you, you can leave early, because there is an agreement or something that the employer is stating, then the employer must pay for the notice, and they still need to pay for the annual leave days. Yeah.
I have exhausted all my sick leave for this 3-year cycle, as well as the annual leave for the current cycle. I now need to go into hospital and will be off for 2 weeks. Is the employer obliged to pay me?
Before we respond to that question, this is what we say when we say, and it's not in all circumstances, we are saying treat sick leave as an insurance. It's not I must. We're getting calls, how many sick days do I have now?
Sure. Now you are planning.
When is my cycle ending now? No, don't plan.
No, you're
It
planning
is like
to be
insurance,
sick.
because I mean, things happen. So now in that particular case, unfortunately, if you exhaust your sick leave in the 3-year cycle, and you've exhausted all your annual leave days, the employer is not entitled to pay you because I mean the annual leave and the sick leave that was given has been exhausted. So now you unfortunately gonna have to go on to unpaid.
And it is the unfortunate part because not everyone abuses leave.
Definitely.
There are those people that genuinely are sick and they have to take this particular leave. But the unfortunate part is that once you have exhausted your leave, whether it's sick leave and then annual leave afterwards, then it has to be unpaid leave. That's the unfortunate
I think
part.
that's very important that we need to, as HR and the managers, we spoke about it in one of the episodes where we're saying, I mean, having these digital systems, they also helping the managers and the employees to take control as well.
Yes.
You know, this is where if a manager sees that there's a trend, then they can also start involving HR, just so that we can have necessary conversations, because it's not necessarily a case of abuse of sick leave. It's also something else that could lead to incapacity.
Yes.
Can we start those conversations? Can we look at those trends? Can we analyze and see those trends just so that we go through the proper channels?
Well, we're still on that. I've had an experience where an employee it's a woman, so every month when they're going on their period, they would take leave, then go to the clinic, get a sick note, come back, right? So we started noticing the trend and we had a consultation with the employee. That's when the employee disclosed that, no, at that particular period, I would be on my periods.
No, of course not.
That's also not fair because a lot of women, not a lot, all women go through that particular phase. So if you're going to take a sick leave every time or leave every time you are going through your periods, then it creates a culture because now when you are not there, someone else has to do your work or the work waits up until you get back to work, right? So it creates a culture of, every week, imagine if there's 5 women in the company and it's a all-woman company. Every month, for like 7 days for some people, they're not at work. It's really not reasonable for the companies.
Yeah, so that's when then obviously some companies would put things in place.
Yes.
We had this conversation in one of, I think it was with Ash, talking about, you know, she owns a company where it's just females in the company, and they've got strategies, they've got things that they put in place, because we shouldn't turn a blind eye to the fact that it does happen, but what else can we put just so that we curb the sick leave.
Yes.
Next question. I hope we're answering all of these questions and all
Yeah.
these people are going to be happy with the answers.
What happens to my leave days when I terminate my employment with the employer?
Your leave days are being paid to the employee. Okay. So whatever leave days that you have at that current point when you terminate your services, then the employer has to pay you those leave days.
Then you would find that some employers have a certain policy that
Definitely.
then caps it. You know, there's people that don't like taking leave.
Not necessarily. They don't. There's 2 different kinds of people. People that have to be forced to take leave, like you, right? And there are people, because of hybrid. I'm not attacking you, I'm just putting it out there. And there's people where we actually work in hybrid, you know, and at times when you just take leave, you don't monitor it, but we all know you can't work 365 days or however many days that we work in a year without rest. You know, so the hybrid work also just makes it difficult for certain people to apply for their leave, or they just tend to forget to apply for leave.
But they do take those particular days.
Yes, they do take the days.
Yeah.
Hence the policies then to cap. Some companies would say, for example, you have a certain number of months to use the leave that was carried over from the previous period, and if it is not used, then you forfeit the leave. right? So if, for example, you've got your 12-month cycle from the date of engagement until your 12 months, and then you've got 6 months after the end of your cycle to use whatever's left or whatever was carried forward in your previous cycle. And if you don't use it within the 6 months, then you forfeit it.
I think that's a good strategy to force people like myself to take the leave. Because it's nice to take leave because I'm saying it's nice, but I don't know why I don't do it. But anyway, it's nice because you get paid for resting, which is good. You're taking care of your mental health, you're taking care of yourself, you can run your errands if there's anything that you want to do. So take your leaves. It's not good not to take leave. Take the leave. So that's the nice thing. And it's another strategy to force people to rest. Because as an employer, you have to take care of your employees' wellness. That's a nice way to also say, look, go rest.
Yeah.
If you don't rest, then you're forfeiting your days. You choose your battles.
Because we're dealing with a lot of things, guys. Let's be honest. Burnout is real. Burnout is real. So at a certain point, you need to go rest. Yes, we always have a lot of work. We're always saying we've got a lot of work. But when does it ever stop? Let's be honest. When does it ever stop? So at some point, we need to force ourselves to rest, because once you've rested, the body operates on a different level. When you come back, you feel rejuvenated. You feel fresh. For example, we always, or sometimes we say, that I've been here for like 7 hours. One thing that I would do in 2 minutes in the morning, it takes me an hour. Why? Because you just reading, it just doesn't go in. Go rest and come back and redo things again. Yes. So whatever leave days you have left, the employer is obliged to pay back the leave, and you must just be aware of the policies that are put in place, because there's also a cap in payment of termination leave. So people must just be aware and know their policies.
Next
question.
Is onboarding important?
Definitely important.
Very,
very, very important. I've been talking a lot. Do you want to take it on?
It is very, very important, because that's where, please don't even miss it, right? That's where you get to know policies and procedures of that particular company, how they work, how to avoid certain things that would put you in trouble as an employee, what benefits are there. It's an information session that's going to give you much more in-depth in terms of that particular organization that you're going to work for or you are working for. You miss it, you end up making mistakes that you could have avoided. You miss it, you end up missing information that is important that you could have gotten. So attend your induction sessions, attend and listen. Because sometimes during an induction session, you ask people a question and it's quiet and you're like, I just said it 2 minutes ago. If they were listening, they could have, So listen, because it's that session is meant for you to know more about the company as well as how the company functions.
And then, it's very important in those sessions because you ask questions, right? You ask questions that you want to understand and things that you want to know, how the company does certain things. Onboarding sets employees for success, actually, when you think about it. Because, yes, maybe there's certain things like mentorship programs and things like that. So when you go through that whole process, you know what's expected. Your KPIs and KPAs, what is expected of you? Why am I here? Yes, I know I've aced the interview. I'm here, you took me. But now, because I'm an employee, can we go through the nitty-gritties just so that when I start my functions, I am aware of what's expected of me. So definitely, there is a lot of value on onboarding. It should be done correctly, and it does give a lot of value because it sets employees for success.
Also, there are different types, right? There's on-the-job training or on-job onboarding. Then there's your HR side, which is the introduction of policies and procedures. Then there's the informal one, where now your colleagues are telling you about the culture. And they're going to interpret it the way they want or the way they perceive it. Guys, stop listening to people that have been there. Some of them have adjusted to not doing things and they see that, there are no consequences. Or they don't care much about their own personal growth and they're going to try and influence you. Make your own decisions. Start to learn the company itself by yourself. So that you are not influenced. You can listen to whatever that they tell you at that particular point in time, but don't make any decisions based on what they tell you. They're going to tell you that, for example, Newa as a boss, she's a horrible person. She's this. But you don't know the reason why Newa has turned to be that person. Sometimes Newa was not that person, but because the person is not performing, I can't laugh every time, even when people are not performing. Come on, be reasonable. But because that person is now having that glitch or beef with that particular person, then they're going to try and influence you. That's what I'm saying. Listen, but do not take it serious, and only learn the people for yourselves and learn how the organization works on your own, so that you don't have half information and make decisions based on half information.
No, definitely. So you must just listen and handpick what you want to take from it. Because when you went for an interview, you are alone. You know what your path is.
Yes.
You know what it is that you want to achieve.
And you know why you applied for that particular role.
Of course. Right.
Does the way employees dress have an impact on the job?
Not necessarily on their job per se, but it does have an impact on the image of the company. I'll tell you why. Companies have different policies, right? Just make sure you know what the policies are, right? We have a policy where dress code is very important, because we always say first impressions last, because we're always in interviews and we see how people are dressed. So we also need to play that part. We have a policy whereby we are formal Monday to Thursday. However, if you've got interviews on Friday, you're formal. As much as in the office we can wear jeans, but when you go for certain meetings, when you go for presentations, when you are in interviews, then yes. But does it affect my job or does it impact my job? Not necessarily, but that's just the standard that we've put in. Another I've got 3 scenarios. So a second scenario would be, I am the face of the company, meaning that I'm at reception. How does it look if potential clients or clients just come in and I'm in torn jeans and my hair is not combed and I'm there? You know, it just doesn't look good. Third scenario would be, we cannot expect foundation face teachers to be in heels the whole time.
No.
They are running around with those kids. No. It's not.
Now we have the I know. Now no more such a name. I. By the time kupela. I get yo.
So it depends. I think very important. We need to have maybe a session on policies, because they are crucial. Just make sure you know what the policies are for the company, what is expected of you from that particular company, and obviously then you can just win your way from there.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything that you've just said, because it has to do with the image of the company and the potential clients or clients that they have. Because if, for example, I would come to work, I'm in the HR space, and I would come to work wearing a torn jean, or a short, or a mini skirt, then there's a policy that says it's different dress code. Then how are other people going to listen to what I'm saying if I myself do not conduct myself in that particular manner? How?
Exactly.
Then you go also in industries such as your blue collars, for example, where dress code is not necessarily a big thing, right? But it depends also on the organization, based on which organization and industry that organization operates in. You find people who, for example, clerks, right? They work in the office. They need to be representable. Potential clients are walking in all the time. And if I'm a potential client, I look for specific things. How you conduct yourself, how you are dressed, how you are servicing me as a client, even if you are not the manager or that I'm looking for. But I'm going to, maybe I'm at the gate and I see you and I say, where's Neo? You need to be looking professional in that particular space. Then you go to industries such as educators, right? It's, old people, old educators, they used to wear like long skirts, and there used to be women and men that
they are presentable.
Yes. Which is important, because that's the image that we have of them. And if you want to be respected, you also need to show that particular respect. If you're going to be exposing, for example, certain parts of yourself and then now people are fixating on whatever that you are exposing, how are you going to report it as sexual harassment? Well, you know, you are also playing a role in that particular aspect.
Can I give you two examples? I've had interviews, right, with at that time they were being interviewed for a support role. One person saw the advert, they told or they informed their friend. The person who initially saw the advert started, she came first, right? She came for an interview. When she got in, torn jeans, all-star, sneakers.
Ooh.
And when we asked her about why she was dressed like that, even if it's an interview, she said she feels comfortable in it. I also feel comfortable in all-stars. I mean, on weekends, you probably wouldn't even recognize me. Recognize me. But I look at this in situations and scenarios. If I go for an interview, I need to be taken seriously before saying anything.
Yes.
The friend came in professionally dressed. Who got the job? The friend. Not because of the dress code only, but the friend got the job. And you have another female who is working for a client, right? She is an auxiliary staff. She applied for promotional opportunities, and every single time the woman comes for an interview, she makes sure she's got changed, or she's got clothes to change in.
That's good.
So they've got uniform, but when she comes, even if it's internal, that's how serious she takes herself. But she's always made sure that she comes dressed to the T.
And it's a turn off. Imagine you are professionally dressed during an interview and someone walks in
as an employer, respecting the candidate.
Then they come wearing flip-flops. Then I'm supposed to take you serious.
Or spaghetti straps and things like that. So yeah, you just need to be aware. So it doesn't necessarily affect your or impact your job and your functions. What I wear doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to do a good job or a bad job, but it's just those the first impressions, they last, just so that you take yourself seriously. Yeah.
Also, I have a question. Can
Yes.
As a freelancer, right?
Yes.
Say maybe, how do I put this? Okay, I'm not working for you, but let's say I'm shooting, like this whole thing, and I always come through, I'm wearing Crocs and all that. Does it say?
No, it doesn't say otherwise about you, because number one, you're a freelancer, you're doing your own thing, right? We said, very important, people need to understand the policies of the company, right, and what it is that you do. If you are shooting and you're behind the scene, because we understand the nature of your job, it doesn't impact or affect us in any particular way, because you are behind the scene. But if you are
going to a client,
let's say you're freelancing and you're providing me a service, you're my contractor. Dress code to me, because the policy of Letsalo is that whenever you go out and meet a client, you need to be professional. I would expect you to be professional when you go meet up with my clients.
That's good. Next question. Am I forced to work overtime?
no. Overtime is.
I feel like I'm forced to work overtime in this company. I'm being bullied by my staff members. No, I'm joking.
No, overtime is by agreement, right? So, scenario one, for example, an employer would say, we've got a backlog, can we come through on this particular Saturday or on this particular Sunday so that we work, right? When you agree to that, then the employer would need to compensate you according to the respective rates. 1.5 is a Saturday, and then double, which is 2 on a Sunday, right? So it will be by agreement as per Basic Conditions of Employment Act. It must be by agreement. Then that person would need to be compensated for that particular overtime.
And when we say it's by agreement, it must preferably be a written agreement between the employer and the employee. And sometimes it's not necessarily, some employees don't compensate in monetary value.
Yes.
Some employers would give out in days, which is also acceptable, depending on the agreement that is done before between the employer and the employee. So very important and lessons that we must learn. Whatever we get into, regardless of whether you are happy at that particular moment or sad or unhappy or whatever, just have a written agreement. Just have somewhere where it binds both parties, because we know things change. You know, I would ask Zanele, next thing Zanele's like, oh no, they don't even pay me overtime, but it was an agreement.
And you agreed at that time?
And you agreed at that time, nobody forced you. So it doesn't have to be in monetary value. The employers can also swap in days.
Yes.
Next question. So I'm planning on resigning. What payments can I expect?
You know what I'm talking
IT people.
Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
So I'm planning on resigning. What payment can I expect?
So you're planning on resigning, what payment can you expect?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have served your notice, it would be the notice period that you have served, which is your monthly salary, as well as the leave days that you would have accumulated up until that particular period, based on the company policy, like we said. If they're capping it, and you've got 32 days, they're capping it at 15 days, that would be the leave cycle that they give payer, then unfortunately you forfeit the other days.
So it also depends, because other companies would say your notice period is a 30-day notice period. Other companies would say your notice period is a full calendar month. So in a full calendar month basis, it's easy. It's from the first until the last day of the month. 30 days whenever you start whenever you give in your resignation, from the date until the following month. So you will get paid your days worked up until at the end of that notice period. You will get paid your leave that was accumulated or that is still due to you, depending on the policy, if it's capped, whatever days that is capped up to. You will get paid any bonuses, any claims that are still due to you in that month, so those would need to be paid. And third, lastly would be if you have any provident or pension fund, obviously then HR will follow the due processes where you as an employee would determine whether you want to transfer your funds, you want to withdraw, or how you want to move around.
Also important to note, educators have a different notice period altogether, right? It's not the same as the other people.
It also depends on those particular companies, but it is difficult, yeah.
Yes. And then another thing to also note, if you do owe the company something, they'll deduct it.
Yeah. No, the company would deduct from the monies that you have. But again, let's just talk back. They're not allowed to deduct anything from your pension or provident fund, because those are the other things that come into play, and employees would come in. So employers are not allowed to do that. However, employers can sue for breach of contract. So they can sue for damages if the employee does not serve notice.
And guys, don't bend your bridges. Sure.
Hey.
Don't bend them.
And the resignation process doesn't have to be sour. We understand people need to move on,
and
people
they need
to grow. Yes, if we don't have any opportunities internally, let's just embrace it. And I'm talking both from the employer and the employee. It doesn't have to be sour.
It doesn't. Imagine spending 5-10 years in a company and then you leave and things are sour. 5-10 years.
Exactly.
Gone.
Down the drain.
My employer has taken me for training, which was a formal qualification for 1 year. I'm resigning and they want me to pay them back. Can they make me pay back the cost of the training course?
No. I'll tell you why. Okay, question that I would ask, a follow-up question before I say no. Was there an agreement between the two parties? Because like I said, it's very important. If I am going to take you for whatever course or formal qualification or certification or whatever the case might be, there must be a policy in place. There must be a written agreement. Just to say, okay, fine, I'm going to take you to this, because it also has rules. I'm going to take you to this course, you need to pass it within record time. If you fail a module, you pay it, or however the company wants to structure it, and you need to have a work back period, or if you leave before a certain time, you will pay back the money. But if an employee goes for training and you put the terms when the employee wants to leave, that's not binding, unfortunately it doesn't work.
No.
So just make sure that there is an agreement. If there isn't an agreement, then the employer cannot force you to pay back the money.
That was the last question.
That was the last question. So we answered all the questions. I believe there's a game, you're putting us on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And everybody's just so excited about this.
Yeah.
Before we start, what's this game all about?
It's just questions.
About what?
It's general knowledge.
Oh, is it so general?
It is general, not so difficult. No, not
Mhm.
difficult at all. Yes. All you have to do is think and give us answers.
Oh my gosh. All we have to do is
That is general knowledge.
And you
Well,
have to
okay.
think-
What are the rules to this game?
Yes.
You just have to think as fast as possible. There are no rules.
Do I need to say my
So,
name first? Like you
Yes.
making us panic. I'm used to me asking questions, not the other way around.
you have to say your name first. Whoever
Okay.
says the name first gets to answer.
Okay.
Okay.
How many questions are there?
There are about, I don't know, there's like a lot of questions.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh. Okay. Alright.
But if you don't get the question, the answer correctly, the other person can still answer.
Okay. Alright.
But you only get one chance to answer. No?
Okay.
Cool. First question. Please listen carefully. Oh, no.
And you see that there's a lot of pages.
No, actually, the first question is very easy. Question number 1. A theme park built on top of a gold mine. in
So right now. Almost said that. Almost said the answer with the right name.
I might get it wrong. I might. You know what don't you do this?
I almost said the answer. I don't like this, and we're discussing this. You might not even get it wrong. Wait, I've got qualms.
I might.
No, I've got qualms. Okay, anyway.
Yes,
This is so loser. You know it. Can you please stop? Moving time.
It's gold leaf.
Okay.
Such an actress. In
That is correct. Question number 2. Okay, please listen carefully. All these answers start with the letter S.
all the answers.
Yeah.
All the answers start with the letter S.
Yeah.
Okay.
First one. 5th largest township in South Africa.
So it. Zanele.
She's out. She didn't say her.
But I said my name before you said yours.
No.
We're penalizing you because you answered.
Thank you.
first. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
So it.
That is actually wrong. The
What?
5th largest township in South Africa. Yes, Zanele?
Social goof.
Yes,
Okay.
Social Good.
Yay! It was a guess.
So Shango is the 5th largest.
Yeah.
Wow.
The first largest, so it.
Yeah, first is Soweto.
And then so second,
Second is Tembisa,
third,
Umlazi.
fourth.
Wait, no. Before Umlazi, there's. I forgot, but yeah.
Ah.
Soweto is the 5th one.
Wait, can I just practice saying my name because I'm forgetting my name now.
Why do you have to type yourself?
The weakest link. Don't they use a buzzer, the weakest link?
We're still on that one, eh? That start with the letter S.
Okay.
To make things happen at the same time.
Now, simultaneously.
Okay, no.
At the same time.
But we'll give it to you. The answer actually is to synchronize.
To synchronize, okay. Yeah.
Um,
Can we celebrate the moment?
Okay, cool. A city in Greece with white buildings.
City in Greece. Now. Oh, Santorini.
I got it.
Yo, can I just know my name?
No.
To drown.
Zanele.
Ne-
To drown.
Yes,
It starts with an S.
yes. Okay,
I wouldn't want to.
Let's sink.
Thinking.
Okay.
I'm not happy.
Said
Said
Zanele.
Zanele.
I said Zanele. Yes.
Said first.
And then said Liena. We said separately too. Then I said Zanele first before she said no.
Do you know how competitive? Can you please keep scores? We're not in charge of this. Who said what? Because I can't deal with this girl.
Okay, you have to listen to me now.
Yeah.
Cool. Starts with the letter V. Too much.
Then Zanele.
Penalty.
I'm down in Mpele that time I say answer call. I think I'll be fair. Zanele.
Okay, Zanele.
I don't like this game.
Second planet.
Second what?
Second planet.
Zanele. Venus. Not that you.
I'm not playing anymore.
Last question.
Can we not call our names? Can we do something else because my name is okay, yeah, last question.
Last question. Nutrients.
What?
Nutrients.
Starting with V. Now, one.
Yes.
Vitamin. I hate saying that. Okay, what is the score? 5-4.
Who's 5?
You are 5.
Boo, 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 boo. Let's pop some champagne. Boo, 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 boo.
Okay,
I know that
okay. One thing, I should not be calling out my name because I'm not used to calling out my name. But it's fine. I'll take it. I'm a soul. I don't like it. I don't like it. So thank you guys for watching. So if there's any other questions that you may be wanting us to answer to, or maybe just to give advice, please drop it in the comment section. Thank you very much for always watching. So please do not forget to share, like, and subscribe. Please, please, please. Until next time, thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.